Hi, I'm Frank Duran with Real Books Don't Have Batman podcast, and I'm sitting across from the artist of A Stray in the Woods. Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Alison Wilgus. I worked in comics and animation for about 10 years now. A Stray in the Woods was originally an interactive webcomic actually based on Tumblr, where I would post an update, I would post images and some text, and then ask the audience, what does the cat do next? And then they would suggest future cat actions, and then directed the cat, the sort of cat venture in a mysterious forest, and solving the mystery of who the cat is and why the cat is there. A friend of mine once described it as second-person amnesiac feline, and that's actually pretty accurate.
There you go. And how did you get the idea for A Stray?
You know, I've been thinking about doing a cat webcomic for a while, just for like as a fun side project, and drawn a lot of sketches of it. But I just wasn't interesting enough to just draw little joke comics about my cats, and so I came up with the idea of doing an interactive webcomic, because I'd been reading a lot of comics like Ruby Quest and some of the Paint Adventures comics and other sort of choose your own adventure type comics, and I thought it would be fun to try one of my own, and then it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, and how long have you been doing comics?
I've been drawing comics for like 20 years now, but I've only been doing it professionally probably for more like 6.
Thank you so much.
On and off, so it's a slow, like anybody else at the show is going to tell you, it's very few people have like a white, bright line between being a comics professional and not being a comics professional. It's sort of like a gradual shift.
All of a sudden you're it, and you know how you got there.
Yeah, all of a sudden people are paying you to sit in your house all day and draw comics.
And so when did you get to start drawing? Were you just always drawing?
Oh yeah. No, I was one of those kids that was really weird and antisocial and didn't want to hang out with the other kids. I just wanted to draw Ninja Turtles and also Transformers. And that was basically what I wanted to do with my time. And
so
then
you were 10 times cooler than the other kids.
Well, what happened is I moved to Cape Cod when I was 8 years old and didn't have any friends, and then spent all of my time drawing instead. So I taught myself how to draw comics because I was sad. That's also when I started watching Star Trek.
That starts for a while. You got it started, but like, how did it take off? Like, did it just like?
Well, it was
did it have a life of its own?
I had a little bit of an audience already, and all my friends were reading it. And then honestly, I just was lucky enough that friends of mine reblogged it. Friends of mine who are more popular than I am on Tumblr reblogged it, and then the word kind of got out. I'm a member of a community called Metafilter, and I posted it to the projects page on Metafilter, and one of the other users posted it to the main page, and I got a lot of readers that way. Honestly, with this kind of project, you get readers like 5 and 10 at a time, and they just sort of cumulatively build.
And so why cats? Do you own cats?
I have 2 cats. It was just sort of on a whim, honestly. I was trying to pick something that would be fun to draw and easy enough to draw, that the interactive nature of it wouldn't mean I would give up in the middle, because unlike with like a regular webcomic, I couldn't have a big cue ahead of time. Each comic was drawn as a response to the reader response to the previous comic, so like I was drawing it all and then immediately posting it. So I had to pick a subject and a style that I could keep up with. I wanted to be updating at least once a week.
Was it hard to keep up with the responses, or was it just like, oh yeah, this is what you would do with a cat in the woods?
When somebody really famous reblogged it, sometimes I'd have like a big overload of prompts, and then I would get a little bit panicked about how to pick one. Like, usually I'd have between 5 and 30, and then every once in a while I'd have like 100 and be like, oh god, how can I? But it usually wasn't so bad, because usually it'd be kind of a consensus, like everybody kind of wanted the same thing, and then I'd just be picking a response that put it in the most funny or charming or articulate way.
That's very, very
It was a lot of fun.
And visiting NASA.
Visiting NASA is an autobiographical comic about a trip I took to NASA Kennedy last year. Actually, Jesus, it wasn't last year. This has been a very long year. In February. There's a thing called NASA Social, which is actually open to the public. You sign up, and then they pick anywhere between 50 and 300 people, depending on how big it is, and you show up at one of the various NASA facilities, and sometimes it's a Q&A with an astronaut, and sometimes, like, this was a 2-day tour of the facilities at NASA Kennedy that culminated in the launch of a communications satellite, and I learned so much in so little time that I basically felt like I really needed to share as much of it as possible with other people, because that's the whole point of NASA Socials, is to educate the public, and I felt like the least I could do after they dedicated all that time and resources and driving me around NASA Kennedy on a bus for 2 days was to, get some of that information out there. And it's been great. Some of the scientists who appear in the comic actually ended up writing me emails or whatever to thank me. So that was really nice, because those people don't really get a lot of time or credit in the public eye. So I wanted to be like, this lady at NASA Kennedy was awesome. Let me tell you why. That's like the only moment in the spotlight that some of these people had. And I'm kind of like, sorry that I don't draw better. But yeah.
That's so cool. And do you think of it as an educational comic, or is it more?
This I absolutely think of it as it's a nonfiction comic. It's absolutely meant to educate, to give as much information as I could, and give a good jumping off point for people to look up more if they want to, like some search terms, basically. Like, did you think this was interesting? There's an enormous amount of stuff out there. You just need to know what to look for. I mean, NASA's a government agency. Basically, everything's available to the public. So.
A Stray in the Woods. So, is it still going on, or is the book you have?
No, the book is everything. The book is the entire story. I wrapped up in May, and I ran a Kickstarter to fund the print run in June. So it's been kind of a crazy 6 months cat-wise, but
So, what are you working on next? I know you just completed this, but what's next?
I have some stuff that I'm actually not allowed to talk about yet, but I'm definitely going to be working on more my future is space related. I'm definitely going to be working on more comics about space, both for myself and hopefully for some other people. So we'll see. It's been an interesting juxtaposition, cats and spaceflight, but
Space cats.
yeah, I know exactly. I wish there's a guy who does a mini called Catstronauts that is actually about cats in space, and I feel like I kind of missed the boat with that one. But
So, do you have anything to plug before we?
Gosh, no. Just if you have a minute to check out what I do, please do. And I'm planning to keep making comics and post stuff on my website and post things online. And I'm going to put as much content online as I can. And eventually, when things that aren't online come out, it'd be great if some people checked it out.